Hi there, I'm Sandy Mollett. I've spent 32 years in the corporate world and now I own my own business. Today we'll talk about budgeting. Don't get too worried, you don't have to be an accountant, and I'm not going to teach you how to be an accountant. We're going to keep it real high level. We need to understand the importance of your budget. We're going to talk about how you're going to list all the items that you need for your project and how you're going to pay for them. And you need to identify where the money's going to come from. This is really important. You think about all these great ideas, but how are you going to pay for it? So what is a budget? It's just basically a list of your expenses and then the stuff that you're going to get to pay for those expenses, right? So let's give it a go. The budget drives your project funding. It's also the basis for your project control. You want to know how much in advance you're going to spend so that you can monitor that in an ongoing basis. So how do we start? Think of all the things that are going to cost money for your project. List them all out and estimate that. If you don't know, do a little bit of research. This is your expenses. So let's look at an example of expenses. If you're going to have a staff, you're going to pay that staff. If you think you're going to do some travel, even if it's in your car, you want to pay for gas and mileage, right? Equipment. Do you need copy machines? Are you going to do printing? Are you going to ask people to give services and goods in exchange for being a part of the project? Think about the quote-unquote in-kind expenses. You got to track that both on your expenses and your income side. And then just tally that up. Basically, that's your expenses. Make sure you include every single item. Make sure you do the research so you know what it cost. And give as much detail about why you're going to incur that expense, right? So let's stop here. Let's create our initial list of expenses, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like. Now that you have your list of expenses, I hope you feel like it's pretty comprehensive, if you will. Now we've got to decide how we're going to pay for them, right? Are you going to get donations? Are you going to grants from some organizations? Are you going to do foundation funding? Are individuals, your friends and family, going to give you some money? We'll also talk a little bit about a thing called earned income, but stay with me for just a minute. This is all your income, all right? This is how you're going to pay for your project. So here's a quick example of income. Are you selling memberships to something? Are individual contributors, we talked about your friends and family who are going to help you pay for the project. Grants and financial gifts from organizations. In kind. We're going to talk about that in kind again because this is where you want to track if somebody's donated their services or time to help you. There's a value to that and a monetary value to that that you want to track. Earned income, we'll get to that in just a second, and anything else that's coming in that will help you pay for your project. So I'm going to spend just a minute on earned income. It's really gaining popularity in social projects or nonprofit organizations, and it's basically income from the sale of goods and services. These are not donations. So you may sell tickets to an event. You may sell t-shirts. You may sell wristbands. This is all considered earned income. We're not going to go too deep today, but what you really need to keep in mind about this is that there's different tax considerations when we talk about the things we sell. All right, so just make sure that you talk to friends, you talk to accountants, and make sure you understand how those are taxable compared to those donation components, okay? So brainstorm on a list of items that are donation related, and then think about the earned income. What kind of stuff can you sell to pay for your project? Think about that a little bit. We're going to stop here. I want you to think of all the ways you're going to pay for your project. And then we'll come back and look at our total budget together. All right, now we have our expenses. We have our income, and look what we've got. We've got a budget. And we're going to do just some basic math to make sure we have enough income to pay for the project. So here's my advice to you is once you have your budget put together, get somebody else to take a look at it and make sure you haven't missed anything, both on the expense side and the income side. Or get somebody that's done it before, just again, to validate you're thinking about everything correctly. So we're going to pause again. I want you to put your income with your expenses, do the basic math, and let's see if you have enough money to cover your project. Hopefully your budget has come out the way you want it to. If not, you've had an opportunity to adjust it. But I do want to take a moment and think about some of the risks to your budget. Think about a contingency budget. Do you want to add a little bit of extra income just in case you have some unforeseen events or expenses that you didn't anticipate? So think about what if I have to rent some space to have an event and I forgot to include that? Think about if I thought I was going to get some expense covered through an in-kind donation, but that didn't quite come through, or it was less than I anticipated. You want to add a little bit of contingency to your budget. For a project, I would add 5 to 10%. And again, this is just mitigating some of the risk to make sure you don't run out of money along the way. So review and revise your budget, think about your contingencies, and remember, make the right decisions about your budget. List all the expenses, list all the income, think about earned income. What type of things can I sell to get some additional income in the door? Put together a calendar of events. I can't emphasize enough for a project plan, and when are you going to spend all of these funds, right? And then build a case for support. What's your message? What's the scope of your project, and how are you going to pitch it to others? You can talk about elevator pitches for your project, but make sure you're focused and succinct about what the project will accomplish. Thank you, and best of luck with your project.